The Chicago White Sox put up 9 runs and beat the Angels to split the series. Sox did not hit a home run, but had a huge 6-run third inning and a pair of very important runs in the 9th inning. Lynn struggled, but was able to go 6 innings. Sox are 11 games under 500, but just 4.5 games back in the AL Central.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Sox fans, welcome back to Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Sox. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Nick Morawski, a lifelong, die-hard Chicago White Sox fan, recording this podcast just blocks from the ballpark in beautiful Bridgeport. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTV. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Chicago White Sox take on the Oakland Athletics on Friday in Oakland. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with Sirius XM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. State of the Sox. They are 36-47, 4.5 games back in the AL Central as the Cleveland Guardians are now on top of this very forgiving division. On Thursday, it was the series finale in LA. Sox beat the Angels 9-7. It was a day game after a night game that saw the White Sox put up 11 runs on 17 hits. And that, to me, screamed disaster. But the White Sox put up 9 runs without hitting a home run. Lynn struggled early on, but settled down eventually. You know, I would have lost a ton of money. I would have bet the White Sox maybe score 1-2 runs, had 5 hits after what they did on Wednesday night. Full details later on in this episode. So the Thursday lineup looked a little something like this, which was a little scary to kick things off. Remillard was leading off and playing second base. Andrew Benintendi had the day off. Hopefully it was just that, just a day off. Tim Anderson still back in that 2 spot at shortstop. Luis Robert Jr., Jimenez playing right field. Andrew Vaughn, Grandal was your DH. Jake Berger, Frazier was in left field, and Zavala was catching. And this is what Pedro Grifol said about Zach Remillard leading off on Thursday. This is what he liked, that he gets on base. He does the little things that help us win games. He'll take a walk. He'll take a hit by pitch, bunt, got good energy. There's a lot like that going on. So kind of a throwback player by listening to that quote, reading that quote by Pedro Grifol. I love how he said he'll take a walk. He'll take a hit by pitch. He'll just stand there and, take it and get on base. Bunting, he loves to bunt, and he's pretty good at it too. Good to see Zach Remillard. He's got a chance. He came up a rookie at 29 years old, but came on strong in Seattle, and he's been getting some playing time, and he's making the most of it. So interesting that Pedro Grifol said all those things about Zach Remillard, doing the little things, the taking walks, getting on base. Where was that when he had TA in the leadoff spot time and time again, and he was questioning anybody that would question him. And so because TA wasn't doing all of those things. Andrew Benintendi is doing those things, and Zach Remillard had a pretty good game in the leadoff spot on Thursday. This is what Grifol said on Sebi Zavala catching the day game after a night game, which you don't see that too often. This is Grifol. 2 home runs and 2 RBIs, two RBI base hit. he's definitely catching. A left-handed pitcher on the mound trying to get another right-handed bat. It doesn't matter if he's tired or not. He's catching. I'm sure he feels good. Not going to check in, not going to ask him. But you know what? He can do it. I'm sure everything's okay. And I'm sure Seby Zavala was on cloud nine after the game he had on Wednesday. He was back there on Thursday. There was an interesting situation between him and Jake Berger that I'll get to a little bit later in the episode. Zavala did not have a similar performance offensively like he did on Wednesday. And then this from Daryl Van Scoven of the Chicago Sun-Times. Seems possible Michael Kopech could skip Oakland, make one start before the All-Star break, then get an extended rest before his first start after the break. We want to make sure he's rested and ready to go. Grifol said, Michael is extremely important to us in the second half. His last two games have been 4 innings. They've been a lot of stress. He's one guy who has benefited from a little bit of rest. He's probably running in uncharted territory when it comes to how many innings we were going to ask of him this year. So this is something we've talked about, but is nothing etched in stone. Kopech has gone out twice and given us 4 innings. He doesn't feel great, but he's grinding through. That's an interesting point there. He doesn't feel great, but he's grinding through. We want him to get to the All-Star break. There's a good chance he's good, but we're always got to be prepared for that. So, reading some stuff that Michael Kopech had said after his most recent start, it seems like he's a little confused on, just how to command some of his pitches. That fastball the other day, that was just flying out of his hand. It didn't look like he knew where that was going to go. He didn't look like he could control it. There was nothing pinpoint, spiking sliders into the ground. So when Grifol says he doesn't feel great, but he's grinding through, hopefully maybe that's just a confidence thing. I hope there isn't physically nagging this guy, a knee or arm or shoulder or anything. This guy is important. Michael Kopech is very important to this starting rotation. And I just was hoping to see a healthy Kopech for as much as we possibly could. Get him the rest if he needs some rest, if he needs a mental break, whatever needs to happen. But we need him for the stretch here after the break. How about Tim Anderson in that 2 spot? I haven't really see anything from Pedro Grifol before the game in defense of continually putting Tim Anderson in that 2 hole. Anderson was hitless over his last 24 at bats coming into Thursday, and is 2 for 43, hitting 0-47. With 3 walks in his last 12 games. That was coming into Thursday. Rough numbers for your 2 spot guy. This is what assistant hitting coach Chris Johnson had to say before the game. It's one of those things where guys go into slumps, Johnson said. Even the greats, Tim Anderson, yes, we all know he's a 300 hitter, and right now he's struggling and finding himself like everybody else. All hitters go through it. The good thing about Tim is when he figures it out, he'll take off, and you'll see Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson was batting 227, 267, 266 with 0 home runs, 0 triples, 9 doubles, and 8 stolen bases in 57 games. Per Baseball Reference, wins above replacement. He's a minus 1.2 player this year. He's working his tail off, Johnson continued. He's out there every day buying into the things we're saying, so there's no complaints there. So again, I haven't seen anything from Pedro Grifol on why TA continues to hit second. If every game does matter for Pedro Grifol, it might be time to move him to a lower spot in the lineup. Now, he did have 2 hits on Thursday. Threes were wild. Lance Lynn gave up 3 home runs in the first 3 innings, but the Sox offense had a huge 3rd inning to help Lance Lynn out. More on that in a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets, up to $2,000. That's right, just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to the first hit the first home run, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Our White Sox face off against the A's on Friday. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. And just a reminder here, programming note, of course, a lot of you, I'm going to be on vacation next week celebrating the 4th of July, and I will be away from the microphone. So there will not be a new episode on July 3rd, 4th, or 5th. I will be back talking White Sox Blue Jays on July 6th. All right, that series finale, Sox Angels. Sox hung on 9-7 against the Angels to get the split. We'll go top of first. Left-handed pitcher Sandoval on the hill for the Angels. Remillard struck out. TA with a duck snort single. There we go, Anderson. He's off. Robert base hit through the right side. So first and third, only one out. A passed ball scored Anderson. Robert to third. 1-0 Sox quickly. Aloy popped out to short center field, and then Vaughn grounded out. But good to see the Sox on the board right away. Bottom first, Lance Lynn. He gave it right back. A solo home run by Moniak. First hitter of the game, quickly tied at 1. Nothing doing for the White Sox. Top of the second, bottom of the second for the Angels. Mike Moustakas with a solo shot, first home run as an Angel and his 4th all-time off of Lance Lynn. Renfroe with a 2-run home run later in the inning. Lance Lynn labored in the inning after that Renfroe home run, threw a lot of pitches. It was 4-1 Angels, and you just felt, oh, man, here we go. Here's that Lance Lynn. The Lance Lynn we saw the last time he pitched against the Angels. It did not look good, but just hang in there. Hang in there. Lance Lynn was able to survive. Top of third, this was a fun, action-packed inning. Not the way you'd think it would go for the White Sox when you say, oh, wow, they scored 6 runs. Must have been a bunch of home runs. It was a lot of little things. Zach Remillard got things going with his 5th hit of the series. Tim Anderson with a seeing eye single that got through the left side. Third baseman, shortstop could not handle it. So first 2 on, nobody out. Gordon Beckham focusing a lot of attention on Luis Robert Jr.'s leg kick, showing some different stills from last night and today, and all this kind of stuff that went into why maybe he's falling off on some power. There was a lot going on. Gordon Beckham really focused on that leg kick. Robert had 2 strikes on him. Count went full, and he walked. So bases loaded, nobody out. Aloy flipped a single to center field. 2 runs scored. It was 4-3 Angels. Runners were at the corners. Count was full to Vaughn. He struck out. But Yaz came through with a single past the outstretched second baseman. I don't think that's a hit last year. Yaz, one of those players that's going to benefit from the shift being banned. Sox tied it up. Then Berger with an infield pop out. So you got 2 away. Frazier followed what Yaz had done, a single through the right side. 5-4 White Sox. And then Sebi was hit by a pitch. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Sandoval was all kinds of frustrated. You could see it on his face, understandably so. It was really a death by paper cuts here. Remillard with his 2nd hit of the inning flipped it over the first base bag. 2 runs scored, making it 7-5 White Sox. Nothing hit terribly hard. I mean, they got on base and they just kept the line moving. 2 out hits, 2 out RBI. Give a pitcher nightmares. The Sox took what Sandoval gave them. When he was throwing some breaking stuff, nipping on the outside corner, Sox just went the opposite way, which was nice to see. Bottom of 3, Angels tacked on 1 run. So a lot of scoring in the first 3 innings. Lynn, he looked pretty beat up, but he settled in, and the game got pretty quiet actually for a while. Not a lot going on. Top of 4, Sandoval, he settled down, and Mike Trout, boy, he just hangs up there in center field. I mean, he just hung in the air and robbed Andrew Vaughn of a home run. He is that kind of player. Bottom of 4, 62 pitches on Lynn's arm and a 2-run lead. Had a 93-mile-per-hour cutter working, but Trout with a 2-out double down the third base line. Trout had 3 hits in the game. He went down and he got that breaking ball from Lynn. After an intentional walk to Ohtani, Lynn went upstairs and got Drury on a 94-mile-per-hour cutter. The cutter was starting to work from here on until the end of his outing. Top of 5, Sandoval was still in there, but nothing doing for the White Sox. Bottom 5, Lynn was definitely locked in at this point. Top of 6, Angels finally went to their bullpen. Bottom of 6, Lance Lynn was at 89 pitches. And then this was kind of odd here in foul territory. Sebi and Berger collided on an inning-ending pop-up. Now, Sebi did not look happy at all. It looked like Jake Berger was trying to apologize, check in on Sebi. Sebi wouldn't even look in Jake Berger's direction. But, you know, I think it was Berger's ball all the way. Jason replayed that moment when they came back after break. Gordon weighed in on it. Gordon said, you know what, that was definitely Jake Berger's ball 100%. I mean, Berger is coming in from third base. Sebi was kind of going backwards and twisting. I'm wondering if it was Sebi just trying to do way too much, prove he should be playing every day. I don't know, but I don't know what the saltiness was there between Sebi and Berger, but that was Berger's ball. He did make the catch. Lynn gave up runs in the first 3 innings, but completely settled down and got the help from his offense. Top of 7, again, not much happening since the 3rd inning for the White Sox as well. Both Angels and Sox quiet. Bottom 7, it was the bullpen. Joe Kelly came in. Still just a 2-run game. A Trout with a leadoff hit to left field. Kelly walked Ohtani very wild during that bat. So 2 on, nobody out. And I'm thinking, here we go. This is when Kelly kind of, has a meltdown. But no problem. He settled in. A fly out to Loy in right field. Then Kelly got Moustakas to hit into an inning-ending double play. Big moment there in the game. Top of 8, Sox left 2 on. Tim Anderson struck out to end the inning. That duck snort that he had earlier in the game just seemed like it didn't do the trick for TA, maybe on Friday. Bottom of 8, Robert hit by a pitch. He stole second base. He stole third. Vaughn made it to third when Trout dove and missed. It was ruled a triple, but of course, if Mike Trout doesn't dive, and let that ball go past him, there's no way Vaughn is making it to third. But still, good to see Vaughn with the wheels. Sox padded the lead 8-5, and then a wild pitch brought Vaughn home. It was 9-5 White Sox. So top of 9, and those runs were very, very important. So it was a 7-5 game. White Sox got those 2 in the 9th to make it 9-5, and that proved very important because Kendall Graveman was right back out there in the 9th. And Trout with a 2-out, 2-strike base hit. Then Trout makes it look so easy. I mean, he looks like in its textbook. His swing is almost mechanical. He does all the right things and just punched it over shortstop's head into the outfield. And then Shohei Ohtani, and he was quiet for a while, but, he had a no-doubter to center field. 2-run jack. It was 9-7 Sox. So without those 2 runs from the Sox, this game is tied, and you know what happens when the Sox go in extra innings. Graveman stopped the bleeding right there. Game over. White Sox got the split. Lynn's final line, 6 innings, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, a couple of walks, 7 strikeouts, 3 home runs. His ERA 6.47. He threw 105 pitches. Pretty much nothing allowed after the third. I can't really call it a good or great outing from Lance Lynn. I mean, he looked like he was having some major problems the first 3 innings. Now he settled in. Those last 3 innings were good, and the Sox offense got him a ton of help in the third. But I mean, man, I don't know if you could separate. It was really a tale of 2 outings there in one. Jekyll and Hyde. The first 3, some kind of classic Lynn, and then the last 3, some stuff that we kind of saw in Seattle way back when. So then Kelly, Santos, Graveman were out of the pen on Thursday. Sox offense, 9 runs, 9 hits, 0 home runs. Vaughn with that triple. Sebi 0 for 2 with a strikeout and almost collided with Jake Berger there in an interesting foul territory play. Tim Anderson, he was 2 for 5 with 2 strikeouts. Remillard hitting in the top spot was 2 for 4 with a walk. Sox were 5 for 14 with runners in scoring position. This is what Grifol said after the game. If anyone questions if these guys want it, they play hard and to the end. That's your answer right there. Just passing it on to the next guy, Grifol continued. Take your walks, don't strike out, put the ball in play. We struck out too much after finishing with 16. But they threw some good arms. Our offense is capable of a lot of good things. We just have to put it together. So the White Sox continue their West Coast trip and head to Oakland for a 3-game series. More on that in a moment. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Sox at Oakland. White Sox have not named a starter as of yet for Friday and Sunday, but Dylan Cease will go for game 2 on Saturday. Oakland is 21-62 on the year. They are 29 games back in the AL West. White Sox were 5-2 against Oakland last year. Sox won 3 of 4 in Oakland last year in early September, and that just does not happen. It has been a difficult place for the White Sox to find success, but this is a very different Oakland team this year. I went out to Oakland to see a White Sox series, I think 2018 or 2019. I'm not itching to get back to Oakland anytime soon, that's for sure. And in a 3-game series, I think we went to 2 of the 3 games. I did not see a win. I mean, Sox just, they couldn't get anything going at the Coliseum. Since we know Dylan Cease will go on Saturday, Cease has a 2-0 record with an ERA of 2 flat and 21 strikeouts in 3 appearances versus the Athletics in his career. Cease, during that series I mentioned in Oakland last year on September 8th, he went 6 innings, 3 hits, 0 earned runs, a couple of walks, and 9 strikeouts. Looking for something like that on Saturday. Dylan Cease is 3-3 with an ERA of 4.04 and 110 strikeouts in 17 appearances this season. He's been taking the ball every 5th day. Last time we saw Cease, Sox lost a tough one to the Angels. Cease's line, 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, and 10 strikeouts. So again, no podcast on July 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Hopefully you have a happy and safe 4th of July. I'll be back for that Blue Jays Sox series on Thursday, July 6th with a new episode. But if you have the opportunity, check out the podcast Pod of Fame. There's a new episode that drops on Monday, July 3rd. I joined the episode to defend Dick Allen. I think it's a great episode, in his battle to get into the Hall of Fame. Folks, thank you so very much for making this podcast part of your daily routine. You can find the Locked On White Sox podcast absolutely everywhere. You find your podcast. We're on Twitter at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_. GGTB. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and any questions or comments you have, you can get them in at lockedonsox@gmail.com. Our White Sox take on the A's starting on Friday. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. And hey, everydayers, you know who you are. On the next episode, I will check in on what's going on with the Sox and Blue Jays next week on July 6th. Appreciate you making time for the Locked On White Sox podcast. I'm Nick Morawski. Until next time, go Sox.